you should be concerned about what's interfering with your own vision first. And you should leave other people the hell alone in relationship to that. And so if your mode of being in the world is, if you would just act better, things would improve for me, or if you identify the evil and the catastrophe as something that's outside, that someone else needs to fix, or that someone else is responsible for, then you're not going to fix that. And you're going to remain blind to the things that you're doing and not doing that make things not go well. And so it's just better to think, all right, I'm probably blind in many, many ways. And maybe there are some ways that I could rectify that, because it's highly probable that you're blind in all sorts of ways. I mean, in fact, it's virtually certain. And so it's just more useful to think, how is it that I'm wrong in this situation? First of all, you have to get yourself in the right mindset. You're trying to take care of yourself like you would care for someone that you cared for. And then you have to have a vision. And so the vision would be, well, okay, 3 to 5 years down the road, if your friendship networks were configured properly, what would that look like? If you were pursuing a career that would be appropriate for you and sustaining for you, what would that look like? How are you going to educate yourself? How are you going to take care of yourself mentally and physically? What could that be like if you had what you needed? Realistic in what you needed. Okay, now write for 20 minutes about what your life could be like 3 to 5 years down the road if all of this came together. And then now do the opposite. So imagine all your weaknesses and all the ways that you can go down the wrong path. And then imagine that gets the upper hand. Then imagine where you are in 3 to 5 years. So you can run away from the things you don't want, and you can run towards the things you do want. If you don't specify what you want, you won't get it. And if you specify what you want, and you want it, which means you're willing to make the sacrifices necessary to get it, then the probability that you'll get it expands immensely. Now, of course, it assumes that what you want is within the bounds of appropriate reason, let's say. But you could also dream big, and there's always the possibility that'll work out too. Then they write for 15 minutes. Okay, your life is the way you want it to be in 4 years. What does it look like? And then we have them do the opposite, which is, all right, take stock of yourself for a minute with all your weaknesses and inadequacies and bitternesses and resentments and sinful tendencies, let's say. Now imagine that you let all of that go. Which little corner of hell would you occupy in 3 to 5 years? Why don't you write about that? And everyone knows where they'd go if they let themselves. And so then you have something to avoid, and you have something to strive for.
So you think that there's a real problem with like something like a universal basic income? You think it's a horrible idea?
Well, I think the idea that the solution is a basic income is not a good idea, because I think the problem is deeper than that. I don't think the fundamental problem is that people don't have enough money. I think the fundamental problem is that human beings in some sense are beasts of burden, and if they're not provided with a place where they can accept social responsibility, social and individual responsibility in an honorable manner, they degenerate and die. That's the opiate crisis in the West right now. Like men who are men don't need money. They need function.